Welcome to Chapter 10 of our course at the School of Computing, University Utara Malaysia. I am Dr. Ala Jabbar Al-Maliki. Today, we are bridging the gap between computer science and legal reality by looking closely at e-commerce contracts. For centuries, business was conducted using the method on the left, paper documents and physical ink signatures. On the right, we see the modern equivalent. Millions of transactions on platforms like Shopee, Lazada, and digital banking apps are completed entirely through digital user interfaces, often with a simple click. That single click raises an immediate legal question. When a user presses buy, is that electronic action legally valid? And more importantly for developers, how do you mathematically and legally prove that agreement took place in a digital environment? To answer that, we map two concepts directly to the interface. First is the e-commerce contract itself, a legally binding agreement formed entirely through electronic communication. Second is jurisprudence, which is the philosophy of law. Here, it guides how local laws interpret those digital interactions. Jurisprudence defines how a simple API trigger becomes a statement of intent. When you write a checkout sequence, you are engineering a binding legal agreement that dictates the rights and obligations of both parties. This flowchart tracks a standard checkout process to show how user actions satisfy three key legal principles. Clicking I agree fulfills offer and acceptance. The checkout sequence itself establishes the intention to create legal relations. Finally, processing the payment fulfills consideration, which is the exchange of value. Because real money and legal obligations are changing hands, these principles require strict cybersecurity policies. The system must be wrapped in protections that ensure fairness, secure the transaction data, and actively block fraud. In Malaysia, the security and validity of this entire process are anchored by the Electronic Commerce Act 2006. The ECA establishes four critical rules for digital systems: legal recognition, electronic signatures as proof, digital records as evidence, and contract formation without physical presence. For developers operating in Malaysia, the ECA 2006 is the foundational baseline. It is the law that guarantees the secure digital interactions you build will hold up in a court of law. Look at this network map. Local laws work perfectly within their own borders, but the web is borderless. Here, we have a buyer in Malaysia interacting with a server and seller located in Europe. This geographical distance creates four friction points developers must anticipate. First are jurisdiction borders. Second are identity verification hurdles, where confirming a real identity is difficult. Third is blind consent, where users accept terms without reading. And fourth are severe security risks, like data interception and hacking. If this European website turns out to be fraudulent and the Malaysian buyer loses their money, consider the system you would build to solve the dispute. Which country's law actually applies here? Because physical geography still dictates legal authority, resolving jurisdiction disputes is incredibly difficult. You cannot easily patch international legal conflicts purely by updating your code. To bypass human legal friction, developers created a technical alternative. This diagram shows a smart contract, a self-executing agreement coded directly onto a blockchain network. Instead of relying on a court to enforce an agreement, the conditions are written into the software. When the system registers that delivery is complete, it triggers an automated sequence to release the payment instantly. This automation removes human error and provides a verifiable ledger of every action. However, because the code executes automatically and cannot be altered, a single coding error locks the parties into a flawed transaction that is nearly impossible to modify or reverse legally. Smart contracts successfully eliminate intermediaries and execute fast, efficient transactions. But a flawless technical algorithm does not automatically equate to perfect, binding legal compliance. The law is still evolving to catch up with the code. This matrix plots our four specific scenarios against their actual impacts. Standard online shopping flows create immediate binding contracts. Cross-border disputes trigger complex jurisdiction issues. Blockchain execution achieves automation at the cost of flexibility. And online fraud leads to direct financial loss and legal complications. Review these core questions. Are electronic contracts as reliable as traditional ones? What risks do users take by skipping the terms of service? And ultimately, can smart contracts ever fully replace traditional legal interpretation? The code you write creates binding agreements. Frameworks like the Electronic Commerce Act 2006 validate those agreements locally. But as long as the internet connects different countries, jurisdiction and security will remain persistent threats. To succeed as a developer in modern e-commerce, your systems must function flawlessly on a technical level, while withstanding rigorous legal scrutiny in a borderless digital world.